forward to this computer. Yep. All right. Oh, did Pearl leave? Or Pearl? Oh, did Pearl just go away because I shrank everything? No, it's just you and me, Philip.
I think so.
Oh no.
I think Pearl disappeared, but I don't know why.
No, I think that's just you. Okay. Well, we'll just go over this stuff here then, and I'll go over her thing too. All right. So, this week is inserts, updates, deletes, and some string manipulation. Not a whole lot, but we're going to play with a little bit. Before we begin, Philip, do you have any questions from this week, or did you? I fixed. So Philip pointed out to me that the quiz had not been fixed where you could see the correct answers when you were done. So I fixed that. So Philip, were you able to check to see the answers after your second try?
I did,
Okay.
and it looks like some corrections were made in there because honestly, some of those, I read the material until my eyes had fur, and I couldn't see how I had picked up such a horrible score. And some of the questions didn't make sense. The first one in that second attempt,
right,
was a real head scratcher because MySQL doesn't use all of those, only one, but it's multiple answers.
Yeah, it's because this test was not designed with this version of MySQL in mind.
That's why that's what happened.
Yeah, and that's why I corrected. I went through a lot of people's quizzes and corrected that question.
And we have a Proctorio quiz this week.
No, you don't. That's not true. There is no Proctorio quiz.
Oh, well, it says so.
Yeah, I know, it's a lie. I actually thank you for reminding me. I need to post that because this quiz is not Proctorio. There's no need. That's why we do. The reason we do week 2 the way we do with the reverse engineering website, and you give me a video, is so we don't have to do the week 6 Proctorio. And you don't have to.
I thought that's what I had remembered. So yeah, it surprised me when I saw that.
Yeah, it also means you don't have to put malware on your computer.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's already there.
Sorry.
From,
hey, Morgan.
From other classes.
Yeah. Hi. All right. Did you watch the video I sent you? Did it make sense?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I was trying to fix that issue with all the vendors, inspectors. I just couldn't figure out, like, if you pick one table and you link all of them to one table, I just couldn't figure it out. So I just did it the way I did it.
That's fine.
I haven't fixed it yet. I still got to fix it from last week's.
Well, I'm going to go over another person's who had a similar situation as you did. I think Pearl's coming back. I think she got disconnected.
I don't really want mine shown on here.
No, that's fine.
With it later in the future with real business.
It's totally fine. I fully understand. I just need to make sure it's cool with Pearl. I show hers. Pearl, is that you back?
It is me back. So sorry.
Hey, is it okay if I share your ERD with the class tonight?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So once I get through this code here, we'll look at Pearl's ERD, what she had originally, and then what I recommended to change to.
I don't mind sharing mine. I just don't want it on the recording.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I have to, and I need to record it, so it's not a big deal. But if you want to look at it afterwards, I'll stop the recording, and then we can do it.
I haven't done anything with it since you
sent
me that video. Yeah.
I need to find your. Actually, what I'll just do is I'm gonna stop sharing for a second here. I'm gonna re-download the picture you sent me, Pearl, because I can't remember where I downloaded it to, because that would. Okay, and then here's this. And so I want here. I want to download it. Where you download to? Oh, that's where it is. Okay. Anyway, that's where it got to. So I'm gonna go get it.
So I might get kicked off again. I'm trying to travel and charge my phone. So when I get home, if I disappear again, I'll just log back on when I get home.
That's fair. Okay. Did you say if you're driving, like, don't drive and do this at the same time? That's definitely not worth it. All right. Hey, Aaron.
Hi.
Okay, back to here. Boom. There we go. Okay. So just real quick, we're going to talk about insert statements, update statements, delete statements. We're going to talk about some kind of data manipulation, not a whole lot. Okay, so let's do this here. Let me get rid of this here. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm creating a little table called persons. Person, that's fine, keep it persons. I got person ID, integer, not null, auto increments. Okay, last name, first name, age, in integer, and then I'm making the primary key person ID. So what auto increment does, it looks at that column and adds the next one that's there. So let's go ahead and create this. A little table here. And so here's my first name. I'm going to insert into persons, Williams, Venus, 27. Okay. So is this going to work or not? Got a 50-50 shot. Work, not. Cast your votes now.
I was going to say no, because the number, what you're putting in there doesn't match the columns.
Correct.
So you haven't specified where that data is going to go.
Correct. And that's a very good point. So here I have 4 columns in my table and 3 columns in my 3 values in my value statement. So this table actually, and so if this actually went in there, it would try to put Williams into person ID, Venus into last name, and 27 into first name, and age is currently left blank. So whenever you
I thought with the auto increment that it would auto do the key.
No, because it needs to have this. It needs to have this here. With auto increment is different in MySQL than it is everywhere else. So
I was going to say it's either that or you put the word default in front of Williams.
Yeah,
Does
that would be
does
that
does
would
that work?
Let's find out. I have not tried that here. That worked. So that's the way around it. So so you can't put the word default there. So now the point I was going to make is in other, so auto increment does not mean auto fill, like automatic there. There is in Microsoft SQL Server, it's called an identity column, and auto increments in Oracle, but it's different because you don't have to, in Oracle, this would work because it knows that first column should never be touched. In Oracle and the other systems, you actually, if it's an identity column, you can't actually put anything into that column, and the system knows. But MySQL is a little different, and it doesn't like that. Okay. So in this case, if I did this, like this one, I've got 16 Williams, Venus 27, and I put that in there, that's going to work because matching all the columns. Okay. And I've got my results. Okay. Now here, I'm identifying last name, first name, and age. Last name, first name, and age. If I do this, it will work because it's not looking to put anything in that first column because there's nothing there. And notice the auto increment took us to 17, not to 2, because it goes to the next one in order. Okay. When we do the column names here, we can put them whatever order you want. I have here age, last name, first name. This is going to work fine because I'm telling it age, last name, first name. As long as the order here matches what's here, it's going to go in fine. Okay. Now, I recommend whenever you're writing insert queries or any kind of statements, for insert statements, you always delineate the column names because it makes it cleaner, makes it easier to understand, make sure the data is going to the right places. There's never any question. Also, whenever you're writing code, you've got to make sure that you're writing the code for not only for you, not for the system, but the people that are coming up behind you. Because odds are you're not going to stay in one job from the day you start to the day you retire. You're going to be changing it around. So you want to make sure that the code is readable by the people behind you. So here, one last thing. I just did a couple of things. I did this. I told you last week, I think lower and upper, you can change that to make sure it's all lowercase, all uppercase. So here I'm going into the actor table. Okay. I'm getting the last name and first name, making them all lower. And here I created this little fun little statement. Rand gives you a random number. It is going to be a decimal. Here, I'll just show you. So if you just select. So I just select Rand 25. It gives me that number. If I do Rand 3. Okay. Just generates a random number here. I have this. So what floor does, it stops it from being a decimal anymore. So if I did this one here, if I do the Rand times 50, it gives me a positive number.
What's the number you're putting into the Rand? What does that do?
The 25?
Yeah.
I was going to say, isn't that's the randomizer seed?
Yeah, it's a randomizer seed.
Okay. What does that do?
Honestly, I don't remember. I just know you got to put. If I don't think it'll work without a number there.
I thought it was like the top value that it would go to from 0, but when
no,
you did
because,
it with anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but okay, you can't put a number there. Let me look that up, and because I wrote this code like 3 years ago. Let me remember what it does. I don't normally use the rand function. It's just fun for the class. So random, I multiply by 50 because like I showed you, if I just do the rand function on its own, it's a decimal. It's not really going to help me much. Trying to figure out someone's making a fake age. So multiply it by 50 just because I picked that number at random. And it gives me this now. And then here I have the floor. And what that does, it just quickly removes the decimal, anything after the decimal. Back there, because lore is not a command. And it gives me 20. And here I added 10 to it just because I was getting like 1 and 2, and I didn't want someone to be 1 or 2 years old. So I just add 10 to it here. So this is just a fancy way of getting a random number. Okay. So here I'm doing select last name, first name, all lowercase, and then this I'm putting into age. So if I run this command here like this, I get all these wonderful random ages, and I can put it all into the person's table. Look here, and then everything is there. Okay. So here I'm going to do an update. So that's insert statements. By the way, just so you know, and I forgot to tell people this at the beginning of last time. I think I showed you guys this already. If I go here to actor and I go to this and do that, it makes me a select statement. It gives me everything I need. It's already there. So if I right click, go to select SQL editor and choose any one of these, it gives me the statement I need to the insert. You have to fix these quotes because these don't really work the way you're supposed to. They're not good quotes. You got to fix them. But here, this is your insert statement, so you don't have to go make one yourself. It doesn't get crazy and do the joins like we're gonna do in a second, but it gives you the simple one. The other thing is, I think I showed you that everything over here is drag and drop. So if I need to do an insert statement on very specific things, I can just pull the columns out that I want. Okay. So here, update statements. I want to update the statement, the first name of the person's table, and make it uppercase, where the age are between 12 and 15. The only thing new here are these two commands. We can update and set. The where command we've used before. That's not new. So insert, it's insert and values, or insert and select statements. Update, it's update and set. So update persons, set first name equals to first name uppercase. And if I run select from persons, let's see, where's my age? There's uppercase name, there's an uppercase name, there's an uppercase name, there's an uppercase name. Okay. I can also do an update using an inner join. So I can update persons, inner joining customer, where person's last name equals customer last name, and set the age to 999. So update persons, inner join customers. Notice I didn't use aliases here. I just didn't. You can alias here if you wanted. And if I run that, I have 47 rows. So if I select start from persons, I now have where the last name was there is 999. I can delete from persons using delete command. Or last names like F. Now, I think it's we're in week 6. I think week 9 or 10 we talk about transactions, and I didn't want to spoil it by doing it here. So basically, what a transaction is. So whenever you run code in a SQL engine, it's considered a transaction. Okay, and it just happens, and it's done, and it registered it with log. Okay, you can control it using transactional commands. And the reason why you would do that is a transactional command ends with 2 commands. There's rollback and there's commit. Okay. And I've done this a number of times myself. If I'm running this command, delete from persons where last name is like F, if I make a mistake and just run that, that's going to be bad because I've just deleted everything from the persons table with really no way to get back. If I run a transaction, and this is just foreshadowing for week 9. If I run this in a transaction, it'll say like begin transaction and then run this. And then I use the rollback command. So what the rollback command does is it takes everything that happened in the transaction and just rolls it back from where it started from. So it never actually happened. So you can see if it worked. Okay. Commit makes it commit. So this is just a fun hint as to what's coming up. So here, delete from persons where last name's like F, boom. All the F's are gone. There's only 2 of them. Here, delete from persons, inner join customer, where person last name equals customer last name. And I've deleted 47 rows. Okay. So now, everyone good with insert, update, delete? Have I lost anybody?
No.
Okay, good. I have this command called truncate. What truncate does is it flushes the entire contents of the table. Okay. The difference between delete and truncate is you see this here where it says 47 rows affected. When I run truncate, it says 0 rows affected. Yet, if I go look in my persons table, there ain't nothing there. So what delete command does, it goes row by row and deletes each row one at a time based on the criteria that you set. Truncate just flushes the entire table, which means we talked about how the write-ahead transaction log works, right? Did we talk about that? Did we talk about that?
What was that?
Did we talk about how
transactional log?
we talk about the transactional log works? So when you run a query against a database, it runs it against a transaction log first, and then commits it to the database. Did we talk about that? Okay, if we didn't talk about it, let's talk about it real quick. because that's important to understanding on how, okay, so I've got my database here, okay? And I've got my transactional log here. And I've got my end user here. Okay, the end user updates the database. Okay, so the first thing that happens is that all the code that's here gets sent to the transaction log. Okay, so let's say you're running 5,000 insert statements, which isn't a whole lot of insert statements. Okay, so the computer runs that information into the transaction log. When it reaches a certain point, when it reaches the buffer limit, it then starts writing to the database. Okay, so it writes the log, then it writes the database. The reason it does this is, let's say you're running this and you're about 2,000 rows in, and the power goes out, and the database comes back up. If this computer was writing just directly to the database, you wouldn't know where the job failed. It would take a lot of looking for you to figure out where the job failed, because X amount of rows went in and X amount of rows didn't, Y amount of rows didn't go in. Okay, so that would corrupt your database pretty simply, because anytime your database is not true to the data, we consider it suspect. Okay, when we use the write ahead transaction log, we're writing it to here, it's sending it over here to a buffer, and we start writing it out, right? When if the database loses power and it comes back up, every entry into the log has something called an LSN, which is the last system number, okay, or last sequence number. So the database comes back up and it looks at the database and it knows, it says, holy Toledo, we were in the middle of something when the power went out. What is our last LSN? It then looks at the database then looks at the transaction log and sees what the last LSN is there. If they do not match, it has to make a decision. It says, okay, we know because of the metadata, 5,000 rows were coming in. We have 2,000 rows here. Are there 3,000 more rows sitting in the log? If the answer is yes, upon reawakening, the transaction log finishes its job, brings the other 3,000 rows into the database, calls it done, and says everything is fine. If it looks at the log and sees that the transaction is not complete in the log, it rolls everything back to prior to that insert statement. Okay. So that kind of makes most of your database systems self-healing. So you
This
know
this does it on its own.
Yep, that's completely on its own. Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
That's
you don't.
cool.
Yeah, you don't. This is something you don't even. I mean, you'll get error messages and things. You'll go into the log and see what happened. 9 times out of 10, it rolls it back because there's no way everything's been into the transaction log. But yeah, this is the self-healing nature of most RMDBSs, and it's a beautiful thing. So let's say you're deleting 5,000 rows. You just we ran that statement that says delete from persons where last name like F, and let's say there's 10,000 last names that begin with F. When this goes here, it's recording each row that was deleted, one by one by one by one. Okay, that's how transaction log works. It's RBAR, row by agonizing row. So if I ran delete from people, delete persons where last name is like F, and it started going here, it started buffering it, and it started going here, started deleting it. If the power went out and it came back up, it would do that same thing. It would look at the log, make sure the LSNs match, and if it doesn't, it'll decide, do I roll back or do I push forward? And then it'll decide and do it, okay? Truncate doesn't do that. Truncate is just one command, everything's gone. I'm not doing row by row. It's just flushing the table. So if the power goes out, it doesn't matter because it just happens very quickly. So the point is, you can't recover from a truncate. If you truncate a table, if you delete a table, you can actually, if you know what you're doing, go into the transaction log and pull that data back out. If like your new DBA Bobby accidentally deleted a bunch of rows, there's some tips and tricks you can do to get into the transaction log and get that data back. If Bobby issued a truncate statement, you ain't getting nothing back. Okay. This is why we shouldn't use truncate statements. All right. Okay. Insert statement, here we go again. We're doing some insert. Boom, like there we go. Insert, same thing. Person ID, last name, first name, 16 William. Boom. We can also run a truncate insert statement like this. We can use the insert, last name, first name, age, and then just start rattling off values. I would anticipate for your projects, this is how you're going to do your insert statements. So it just puts 4 in, no duplicates, everything's great. Okay. Okay. So here, we'll get a couple more commands. Did I get this working? Oh, I did get it working. Okay. I forgot I put this code there. It looks like you're gonna learn transactions tonight. I forgot to put that code there. Okay. So here I've got set email, I've got concat. And what I'm doing here is I'm setting, oh, I got to redo this here because I don't have email address in the previous table. That's why that was there. Okay, let me do this. We go, oh, did I delete that? Oh no. Give me 1 second, I gotta go backwards here. Control Z is a great thing. Okay, so it's boom. 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 I gotta go from over here. Okay, 1 second. All right, so I'm gonna go back over here to this. Okay. Okay, I need to redo. I gotta put an email column in this. Okay, so we're gonna do drop and create a new table. Okay. Go ahead and add some values into here. Okay. So here, and just do everybody, sure. Okay. So here, I want to update the person table, and I'm going to create an email address for them. And what I'm going to do, and this just show you the concat and substring. I'm using the concat commands, which means concat means I'm taking a bunch of different strings and putting them into one string. I've got the substring command. Substring command has three modifiers. What we want to modify: the starting position and the ending position. So I'm taking the substring of first name, taking the first 4 characters of the first name, adding an underbar. I'm taking the first 4 characters of the last name, and then adding gmail.com to it. Does that make sense? So I'm just taking this entire thing and making a string to it. So if I do this and run it, and I go here, look at my persons table. What truncated one's left over there? Now I've given everyone an email address. That's not the takeaway. Is this concat function, the substring functions? Okay. I've also got okay. Okay. I also have a replace function. Update person, set email to replace, and it has 3 modifiers. What I want to be searched for the replace, what I want to replace, and what I want to replace it with. So it said email replace. I'm replacing Gmail with Hotmail in the email address. Okay. Now down here, this is what I told you about the truncate, the transaction. So here I've got this command called start transaction. I've got update persons, inner join customer on person's last name equals customer last name, where I'm setting the age 99 where the ages match. I'm going to do this with rollback. And it says 48 rows changed, but 0 rows affected. So I go back here and look at my select from persons. There are no 999 ages. Okay. If I take rollback out and do commit, and do select from persons, now I've got the 999 ages. Okay. So this start transaction rollback is a pretty powerful thing.
Did I miss what the commit does? Did you explain that already?
Yeah, so as I messed up here, I'll redo this real quick. The commit does, so back to here. Okay, so this here. Oh, that's, hang on 1 second. Okay. Okay, so we're back. So I have here update persons, inner join customer. So if I do it with rollback, it doesn't change anything. Okay. If I do it with commit, it completes the transaction.
Couldn't you do it without the commit?
No. So that's a very good question. So here's the thing. If I use this command start transaction, so if I did this on its own, I could have a problem. Okay. It's when I do the start transaction. Okay. Let me, and you bring it. So yes.
I haven't read the material yet this week all the way.
Oh no,
so
transaction. No, transaction is 3 weeks away.
Oh.
I just brought it up tonight because some things naturally go together for me.
Okay.
And this, we're talking updates. So let me explain to you. So this is what I'm about to explain is not in your book. So I'm explaining why this works. So let me go ahead and erase all this. Okay, clear address. Okay, so this is my table. Okay. If I run, okay, whenever you engage a database, a table in a transaction, that transaction locks that table from anyone else using it. Okay. I'm gonna draw the table here. So we're kind of going into a different thing here. We're gonna go into we'll talk about table locking. Okay, so we have 2 tables here. Okay. So if I run an insert against this table, okay, that table becomes temporarily locked while that insert is running, because we don't want people looking at this table while I'm changing it, because then they get something called a dirty read. And a dirty read is whenever you look at a table and it has data that is not consistent with what's going to be there. Okay, let's say I'm running an update statement on this table, right? And I'm changing 10,000 rows. And I'm changing, let's say I'm doing this is a like a bookstore database, and I'm changing the price of my books. I'm based on that. The prices are all changing, right? So if I let people read this, look at this database while the update's happening, they're going to get the wrong prices. And I don't want that because that would be bad, right? So whenever a transaction runs against the database, that table gets locked. If we just run an insert statement without the transaction stuff, it creates the lock, it does its thing, it releases the lock, everything's fine. If I explicitly start a transaction with that command, start transaction, right? It locks this table until a command is set to unlock the table. So if I do start transaction and run the query and don't put rollback or commit there, that table stays locked in a transaction until I release it. That's why I've got to put rollback or commit there.
Why would you put a rollback right after something you're trying to do, though?
Okay,
Wouldn't
that's
it automatically undo what you're doing.
yes.
It's kind of pointless.
No, it's not. So here's why. So if I'm running something against a production database and I'm changing a bunch of rows, I want to make sure, and I know how many rows are going to be changed, right? So let me go back over to here. Okay. So I'm running this against a production database. If I run this, I'm one and done. So I've got to make sure that this is actually going to work correctly. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I've run this against non-prod. I know there's supposed to be 48 rows changed. So I'm going to run like this first. I'm going to see, oh, look, oh, wait, hang on a second.
So it's kind of for testing purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also for like let's say I was running a command like you'll see how like I've been like kind of running these commands just by highlighting them, right?
Yeah.
So it's completely, if I did this, right, and I forgot to set the age. So if I did something with the where clause, like I said, like if I did here, if I ran this delete without the where clause, it would delete everything. So this is also to protect me. So I would do, so whenever I'm doing any kind of testing, even in a non-prod days, because I don't want to ruin the data there. If I'm doing changes, massive changes, big changes, I'll always run it in a transaction first to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. And then I'll run it for real.
Okay.
Okay. It's really a CYA. What's that?
If you do commit, that unlocks the transaction.
Yes. Well, rollback and commit both unlock the transaction.
Okay.
Okay.
But commit makes it permanent.
Commit makes it permanent. Yep. So what happens is, so the other thing about the transaction log is that what this does, it just writes it to the transaction log and then deletes it from the transaction log. It never goes to the database. This commits it to the database. Okay.
Got it.
And I don't think this is going to, and see, this is the worst part. It lets you do this. It lets you start a transaction and not lock it, right? Until you run one of these commands, right? So again, if you're not careful, if you did this and then went to lunch, like the database, you'd be getting deadlocks all over the place because people couldn't get to the table anymore. Okay.
Can you run the rollback later?
Yep, absolutely. I can do this now. If I'm on a dummy database, right? Like on my database, I can do this, make all sorts of changes, and then just run the rollback. So let me see here. Where's my truck?
If you run that transaction and it's locked out, it'll tell you how many rows, and if you like how many rows it is, can you just hit commit instead? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so let's do this. So let's say let me get everything back to, let's change this to this, right? So let's say I do this and I run it and it's giving me 0, it's giving me 48 rows affected. I like that. I'll go ahead and commit it. And now it's there.
Okay.
But this is a good trick, like when you're manipulating data, changing things in a non-prod database, so you're not like corrupting your data there. And definitely it's super important to take this into a prod database if you're doing a lot of changes, because it takes a long time to restore a database that you've corrupted.
Got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, this is like week 9 stuff, so you guys are ahead of the game for week 9 now. Okay. And we can also, I think I showed you, we can delete just with a where statement, and we can delete on an inner join statement as well. Okay. Any questions on this stuff? Everyone good?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this ERD that Pearl provided. So Pearl is doing a database on food storage, which I think is a brilliant idea. So when we look at our tables, we see we've got recipe food, and we've got grain ID, pasta ID, legume ID, fruit ID, and under here, under storage tab, we got grain ID, legume ID, pasta ID, fruit ID, other ID, freeze dried, pouch, a can. And they've got a pouch table, a can table, a freeze dried table, and all these other tables. Now, this is pretty much where I see a bunch of people start with their databases. And this makes logical sense. Okay. Now, when we look at normalizing it, there's a couple things in normalization that we got to do. First of all, we got to make sure that no data is repeated anywhere that it doesn't need to be repeated. And then every table has one type of data in it. We also need to, normalization also means if we need to make a change to the database, we don't want a structural change, we just want a data change. For example, we have our recipe food here, right? Grain, pasta, legumes, fruit. So we make this database, everything, this database will work without a problem, right? But what if suddenly we have recipes with dairy in them or recipes with meat in them? So in order to add that to here, we're going to have to go into here and add a column to the recipe food and add a table to here, add a column to here. And you see where that can get a little overwhelming. Okay. We also want to make sure that we're putting data in, end users can't mess it up. Okay. We also have a situation with the recipe table where we've got ingredients to recipe. So we need, that's a many-to-many relationship. We've got to fix it. So here's what I showed her as my suggestion. Okay. So here I've got a food table. I've got a food name. I've got a food type and a storage type. Here I've got recipe. Here I've got recipe. Where's my food table? Food. Okay, so here's my food type. Okay, food type name, storage length. So here in this table, instead of it being a column in another table or another table, under food type, that's where you have legumes, fruit, veg, pasta, whatever it's going to be. And if I needed to add meat, dairy, whatever, I just add a row to the table. And then it shows that it becomes part of the whole thing here. Over in the ERD, she had cans, pouch. So I have a storage type name, and that's all here. And here I've got the recipe table, and the recipe has food. So here is how we keep track of what's in the recipe in this table here. Okay, because food to recipe is a many-to-many relationship. Because one recipe has many food items, and one food item can be many recipes. So we did this here. So let me put these side by side here. Okay, so do y'all see the difference in how this requires a structural change where this just requires a new row of data?
Yeah.
Okay, this is very similar to what I showed you, Morgan, with yours.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have the same issue.
Yeah, it's and I want to stress this is how I made my first database, because it's what makes sense to you. You know, it makes sense. We want to see the concrete structure of everything going to where it belongs, but we also need to make sure. So as we learn more about the database, we learn that we need it to be more flexible and more agile than, you know, having to add a table to add an ingredient. Okay. So this is how I suggested taking this and do that. Does that make sense to everybody? Aaron, you good? Philip, you good? Pearl, you good?
Yes, sir. I'm good.
Okay. Watcher at home, are you good?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So that's that. Now someone had asked me a question about in your quiz, there is I'm gonna have to go in there and delete the question before you guys ever see it, unless you've seen it already. There's a question about the extract command. And if memory serves properly, extract command does not work in MySQL. It is an Oracle command. It's kind of like last week we talked about, you had union, intersect, and accept, and how union works in MySQL, but intersect and accept doesn't. So there's a question in the quiz about extract, and extract doesn't work in MySQL. So if you get that question, I always go behind and add points to it. If you got it wrong, if it's because of that. But if you see that question, I should just see
So-
it.
Extract does work in SQL.
It works in Oracle.
It works in MySQL because I ran it
Oh,
already
did you?
when I
did you?
was studying this week.
Okay.
I tend to run all the commands that are in, like I run all the commands as I study,
Mhm.
and it worked for me in
Oh.
MySQL.
Okay. See, it's not coming up for me as a command.
Oh,
So, are you using the download that came with the cloud we sent you to download, or are you using one from a previous class?
I'm not. I don't know. I
Okay.
didn't go through the way because you didn't have a Mac option. And
Oh, okay, yeah,
I
yes.
went the way I did on a previous class to get
Okay.
my download.
You might be
So-
using a different version of MySQL
I don't know.
because there's Cassandra, MariaDB, and a couple different MySQL options.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, I have MySQL Workbench.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
yeah, my MySQL Workbench is will connect to various multiple of things, but my version extract doesn't work. I'll double check, make sure I'm not, something didn't change in the meanwhile, because sometimes with MySQL there'll be an update to the system and they'll add commands. It's MySQL's odd because it's free and they don't really tell you what they're doing with it. But yeah, so you should you shouldn't, because I think I got them all. But if you see any questions that use the term VI editor, just let me know, because there are a question on there and that's not mentioned anywhere in any of the texts. Yeah, I think that covers everything.
There was one question in there that I forget what it was. But then in parentheses, it said multiple answers are possible. And it was a true or false question.
Okay.
Was that just a mistake of leaving that on there?
I'm so glad I didn't design this exam or these quizzes. Yeah, I'll look through and see if I can find one. That's a new one on me. I didn't know that was there. No one's ever mentioned it before. Although it says choose all that apply, so I guess it's not necessarily wrong.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
using, because on a true or false, you don't usually get that.
yeah. Was it one of those? I have one of my people I go to for seminars I go to, his name is Paul Randall. Like every question you ask about him is every answer is it depends, because there's really no yes or no in databases. Can you do this? Well, it depends, So I should if I were making this quiz, it'd be true, false, and it depends. All right. Okay, so that covers everything I want to cover tonight. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a few questions,
Hit me, Pearl.
but they span different weeks. Sorry.
That's
about
okay.
It's hard for me to get on these meetings, but I'm here tonight.
Totally fine.
I'm gonna try to do them. So back in the week 4 exercises, it was the one where you join the table to itself,
Right.
and it said join the address table to itself, add each row that should not include 2 different addresses.
Right.
So I did where they don't equal, where address A1 dot address does not equal A2 dot address.
Right.
And apparently the correct answer is and A1 dot address is less than A2 dot address. So can you explain to me, if it's not supposed to equal, why, like what's the greater than or less than?
That's
Why would
not,
that be used instead of?
I don't think that doesn't seem like the right answer to me.
I don't, yeah, it didn't to me either, but I got it wrong. And so I just wanted to know if to me, it would, are they interchangeable? Is it, and I can show you.
No, I
but
believe
it-
you.
like,
I
very
believe
well,
you.
I can show you.
No, let
on-
me dig into my stuff here. And see what that is. Let me pull the, that was actually in last week's video, where I talked about that. Well, in the week 4 video, because it's week 5.
Right.
I
And
did-
in the week 4 video, you used the less than greater than together to not equal. And
Yeah.
but the when I got the grading back, and I think the TA graded it said that it had to be the less than, the one address is less than the other.
Okay, let me,
And I just wanted clarification, because if it's not supposed to equal, I would think that either operator might work. I don't know.
I'm pulling up your quiz right now. That's why I stopped sharing. 'Cause I'm gonna go pull your quiz up and see what it says. Then I will explain it to. Okay, hang on a second. Week 4. Where are you at? That's not you. That's not you. There you are. Okay, week 4. Okay, and the exercises. Okay. Join the table. Okay. What about when he took? What's here? Okay. Hang on. Oh, so what was another question that you had while I'm looking at this stuff here?
So I just wanted to know the difference between using the not equal operator or the less than operator. Because whoever graded it said that the correct answer would be and A1 dot address is less than A2 dot address. Instead of, and I made them not equal. So I just wanted to know the difference in using the one operator instead of the other.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they said that. Because that's weird. Did you look in the back of the book to find the right answer?
The back of the book,
Yeah.
I
did. I don't remember what it said.
I think it said the less than, but if they mean the same thing, then why couldn't they be interchangeable?
Yeah, that's kind of my question.
Yeah.
Are they interchangeable?
Well, it should be the greater than, it should be the not equal. It shouldn't be,
Okay.
yeah, it should be the not equal. It shouldn't be, so it
Well,
should be this. This is the
Then
answer.
the back of the book is wrong, because the back of the book, I think, does say
Yeah.
that less than is the correct answer.
Okay, then I'll have to do the back
Right
of the book. I'll look at that. Then the back of the book is wrong, so it shouldn't be the greater than. So let's let me share my screen out here again. Okay. Oh, go away there. Okay, so okay, here. So here it should be this. This should be the correct answer. It should be the greater
Okay.
than less than.
That's what I have, only I used the exclamation point equal.
Yeah, that
I
worked. Yeah.
didn't-
So actually, this.
Because I thought that was for numbers and that
Correct.
was for strings or
Yeah.
whatever.
This
So
is
that's
the
why I used that one.
right. Yeah, this is the correct one for string. I guess the TA doesn't know that. This is the correct one for strings. This one works as well, but there are some engines where it doesn't work on strings. So I always try to teach people to use this. So
Okay,
this is
that's what
correct.
I'm more familiar with.
Yeah.
So that's what I usually
Yeah.
use.
So I'll fix that grade. That this is correct, and I'll explain. I'll remind the TA that.
Okay. Well,
that's
I just wanted clarification because I didn't understand why it couldn't be the.
It shouldn't be that. I mean, it should. It should be that. It should be that. Is that what the book says? This?
No,
Yeah.
the book has it less than. The book has the other one.
Oh, this one?
Yep,
That's what
the book says. The correct answer is. And I ran them and they both produce the same exact thing. The less
Well-
than produces the same exact as the not equal.
Well, the less
Or-
than gives me less than gives me 4 rows. Not equal gives me 8 rows. Oh,
Oh,
I
that's-
see. Yeah. So yeah. So it would be. It would. It's. This is the proper answer. Okay. I will. Well, I can't change the book, but
Right.
That's the proper. That's the right answer.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's what I.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Mhm.
I have a couple more questions. I don't know if anyone else has questions. I don't want to
Anyone else?
take
Eric,
over, but I do
Philip,
have a couple more questions.
Morgan? No. Okay.
No.
Okay,
going.
so my next question is, with the quizzes, we can no longer see what we get right or wrong.
I should have just
Is
fixed that.
Okay.
Intentional, because when I took my quiz last week.
I fixed
there
it this
was a
week.
question I was
Yeah.
confused about,
Yeah.
and I couldn't see if I got it. I don't know if I got it right or wrong
Yeah.
because it wasn't in the reading.
Yeah. Philip pointed out to me that was happening still, and I went and fixed everything this week.
Okay, so will we be able to see last week's if we go back?
Yes, as long as you've done your 2 attempts. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll go back and check and see if I got that one wrong or right.
Yep.
Because I got something wrong, but I have no idea what.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That
got
should be the-
one thing wrong on both quizzes, so it's like, is it the same answer?
Right, that's what I thought too. I was like, well, I think this is right. Well, I don't know if it's right or not because I got it wrong. I
Every
don't know
se-
what I got wrong.
I start every semester with the hopes they've actually gone and fixed that, and around week 3, I find that they haven't.
So I could see them except until last week.
Oh, really?
Last week was the first time I've had a problem not seeing.
Oh,
the correct answers.
maybe they fixed weeks 1, 2, and 3. I don't know.
They might have.
Yeah. Maybe they fixed 1, 2, and 3 and went off to lunch and forgot to do it when they got back.
Yeah.
But I fixed everything now, so everything's good.
Okay. So this week we learned about the modulo function. In MySQL, can that only be run in a function and not as an operator? Because in other things that I code, I just use the module operator. And in MySQL, is it only a function?
Hang on a second. Let me look what you're talking about, because
So it's, let me see I can find it in the book. Because I think it was in the book and not on the slides.
okay.
Maybe I should just stop reading the book, but
Yes, you should.
well, I
Actually,
read it every week.
you know
I
what?
don't think I can stop reading the book.
You know what? I am incredibly impressed. Whoever can read a book like that, because I cannot. I tried once. So, back a million years ago, when C# first became a language, the company I was working for wanted us to be one of the first schools to be certified in C#. To teach C#. So it was on me to get certified in C#, like within 6 months of C# coming out. Anyway, long story short, is they gave me a C# book and I tried to read it, and I hated every second of it, because I can't read books like that. If you can read it, you're better than me. I cannot read those books. I just use them as resources. I'll just look stuff up, like how do you do this, and find the examples and go on from that. But
Nice.
yeah, that's just how and everyone learns differently, which is absolutely cool. But I don't think I think this information is you're talking about this week, right?
Yes, it's in chapter 7 this week, and it goes over. It's the module operator, so it does the remainder essentially.
Okay, hang on a second. I don't think I think that's just extra information. We don't actually have any questions on that.
Oh, okay.
We're in week 6, right? Yeah, week 6.
So I didn't know if you had to use that every time, or you could just, because I feel like last semester maybe we were, I don't know. I just wanted to know if that was a function that always had to be used to get the remainder, or if you could just, if there was.
I'd really have to look at it because I
Okay,
haven't thought
that's
about that in
fine.
a long time.
I
But
mean,
like,
if we-
so
it's not that big of a deal.
yeah, so this is week 6, right? So this is what they care about you guys learning this
Okay.
this week. And this is the most important stuff here. So a lot of times, and one of the reasons why I say not to read the chapter, using more of a reference book than a chapter book, is this will throw a lot of information at you that is not necessarily stuff we're talking about in the classes. So
Okay.
if you read the book, please read the book. I think it's amazing. I wish I could read the book. But yeah, no, that's not something. By the way, on a
It
side
feels
note,
like the slides are the same as the book,
they
the
are.
PowerPoint.
There's
I
more
read them.
information in the book than on the slides.
Yeah.
There is, but the main of it seems to be on the slides. And
The
Right.
slides, the slides are a good like starting point to like say what kind of like what I look into the book. So it's kind of like really, it's like overviewing the chapter.
Mhm.
So if it's in the slides, then you probably need to look. If you're doing it that way, if it's on the slides, then go to the book and see what it says about it. But if it's not on the slides, it's not something you need to necessarily do for the quiz or the test.
Okay. Well, there is a question that says, "Did you read the chapter?"
Oh, really?
Yes.
I gotta change that.
And So I can't in good conscience say, yes, I read the chapter if I didn't.
You know what? I am going to go from this point on and say, did you review the chapter?
That one.
I don't want you fighting with your conscience, but I'm going to go into week 7 and beyond. It's going to say, did you review the chapter now?
Okay.
Because that's what I preach. Review the chapter. But anyway, so yeah, but if you guys haven't looked at this link yet, this is a great link. It tells you all your string functions, because there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with string functions.
Yeah, it covered that in the book. It covered
Yeah.
string functions in the book. And
Yeah.
so actually, well, it's above where you're at, but yeah,
Hmm.
the modulo function should be on there. Maybe it's not. Yeah, right there. No, never mind. I don't know.
Anyway,
Anyway, sorry, that was a pointless question, I guess.
no, it's not important. We had an interesting conversation. We found out a skill that you have that I don't have, which I think is brilliant. But anyway, so just really, I know I would grab this link and just keep it handy if you're getting into databases, because this is a great cheat sheet.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, don't worry about the modular function. Was there anything else, bro?
There, in the exercises, I had one that wouldn't run, like it threw an error in my SQL workbench.
Okay.
It says it's correct in the back of the book, but it ran fine in the command line interface. So I thought that was that kind of confused me, but it ran fine in the command line interface, and that's what the back of the book says the answer is.
That's fine.
So-
Which one is it? I'll look at it later.
It's exercise 7 too,
Okay.
but
Exercise
it won't run in my SQL workbench.
week
for
6,
me.
number 7.
Week 6, yes. Chapter 7, exercise 2.
Okay. Yeah, let me look into that one later, because I might have to play with it. That's interesting. That's a problem I like. It works in the command line interface, but not on the workbench.
Yeah,
So
it works in, and I run everything in both
Yeah.
the command line interface and workbench.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'll play with it and see why it does that, but that's interesting.
okay, that's all I have. Sorry,
right.
I've taken too much time.
Not at all. It's questions that other people may have had, but or someone watching this may have it. Watching the other, we have 4 people here. The other, we have 4 people here, and then the other 30 at home who are watching it now. Thursday afternoon, they're viewing this, might have the same question. So, why do I care about this? Okay. Are there any other questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, Phil. Yeah, Aaron.
On that extract question,
Sure.
that was on the quiz. So we don't need to know the answer. Like I missed it twice, so I just wanted to know what the right answer was, or we don't need to know that because it's
Let me look at the question.
it's the
Okay.
one. I don't know if you saw my email.
No, I've got to let me see. Did you send me an email? Let me see.
It was kind of this afternoon. It was the extract function returns which of the following from a date time value. And then the choices were day, hour, day, decase,
Okay, let me just
hour, and month.
let me
I just couldn't find it in the book or the slides, and
No worries.
I just didn't know what the answer was.
Okay. And you didn't show you what the answer was after you took the final test or the final quiz? It should show you the answer.
I don't think it showed me the
Oh,
answer.
no. Okay, make sure I fix this one. Make sure. Week 6.
It told me I got it wrong, but
Well, that doesn't help. Let me see. Week 6. Where are we at? There is week 6 right here. Week 6 quiz. Okay. I've got to look into the test bank. So there's not just there's like 30 some odd questions. So I'm going to find extracts. Hang on 1 second. More questions. Okay.
oh, it didn't show me the answer earlier.
Did you show you the answer now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I never even saw a day hour in the book, or not around extract. I guess that was my
Yeah.
issue.
So yeah, so it's fine. Like I said, whoever makes this, I don't know who necessarily made this test. I know who's in charge of it and everything, but I think he jobbed the test out to other people. So there are a number of questions that really need fixing, and every semester we try to get them fixed, and every semester they don't. So I apologize for the frustration that causes. But I will go in and delete that question from the universe for this semester, and I'll give you credit on it because the book doesn't teach the answer.
Okay, thanks.
Not a problem. All right. If there's nothing else, I'm gonna call it a night. Everyone good?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
All
good.
right, guys.
All
Keep in
good.
touch. Let me know what's going on. Let me know if I can help you during the week. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.